Okay. All right. So on this one here, it says determine how the following triangles are congruent. All right, and we have using side, 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 angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side, or hypotenuse leg. Okay. So I'm telling you that these triangles are congruent. We just have to determine how, right? So which shortcut are we using? So there are things that you want to look for, all right, in here. So first of all, the notation, all right, like what angles are congruent to what sides are congruent to what. But also, is there other stuff that we can mark, all right? So what I'm talking about here are like vertical angles. All right, are you given anything like lines are parallel? All right, that would help you look at like alternate interior angles, okay, for example, or corresponding. All right, and then this other thing that you want to look for is like shared sides. Okay, so if we look at this first one, all right, here's what I would notice. All right, so I'm trying to prove right here that FIG is congruent to GIH. Those are the two triangles I'm looking at, okay? So I notice that I have two sides marked as congruent. All right, that's awesome. And then I also notice that I have these angles marked as congruent, okay? So I need either another side or another angle, okay? But I can't just mark things on here unless I'm given some information or unless that I have, some of these things right here, okay? So here's what I would notice. All right, these two triangles share the side, right? And if they share a side, then it has to be congruent. And it has to be congruent to itself, right? So I'm going to mark GI, all right, as congruent to itself. So if you just think about it, you don't have to write this down, all right? But we had a property that said that if you mark something congruent to itself, all right, what property would say that? And just to keep in mind, especially when we're doing proofs, we had this reflexive property, all right? And this is whenever it's going to come into play. But, all right, we now have marked GI as congruent to GI. So now we have to determine what shortcut do I have. So the easiest way to do it is actually to look at one triangle, okay? So I'm looking at this triangle, and I'm going to look at what I have marked. So I have a side, I have this included angle, and I have another side, right? So if we look here, I'm going to have proving this triangle as congruent by side, angle, side, okay? And again, you have to just double check, all right, that angle is included. And it is included because it's in between, all right, those two congruent sides. All right, so it's in between those two sides. Let's take a look at this one. All right, so again, all right, what I'm noticing and what I'm trying to prove here is that CBA and DEC, all right, are the two triangles I'm trying to prove as congruent. So here's what I notice. I have a side marked as congruent. I have an angle marked as congruent, and so I have to figure something else out, right? So there's two different ways that you can do this, but the easiest thing to notice, all right, is that your vertical angles are congruent, right? So now if you look at one, all right, of these triangles, what do I have marked as congruent in there, right? Well, I have an angle, oopsie. I have a side, and then I have another angle, right? And that side is included, so that's going to be angle, side, angle. All right, let's try the next one. All right, again, we're looking at triangle JKM and then triangle MKL. All right, so what I notice here, again, I have two sides marked as congruent. And then I'm also noticing that they have a shared side right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that shared side congruent to itself. So now if we look at one of those triangles, I have three sides, all right, that are marked as congruent. So this is going to be side, side, side. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to let you guys try these next four, all right, on your own, and then we'll go over them, all right? But let's take a look at this one. All right, so again, I'm looking at FIG and GIH, all right, and what I notice is I have this angle congruent to this angle, all right? I also have, all right, that these two angles right here are congruent, and then I also notice, all right, that they have this shared side, right? So I have to mark it congruent to itself. So then now, if we look at one of those triangles, all right, let's take a look at what we have marked, all right? I've got an angle. I've got a side, and I have an angle, right? So, and again, that side is included. It's in between those two angles. So the way of proving this one is by angle, side, angle. Okay? So what I want you to do is just pause me for a second. All right? Try these next 4 on your own, and then see if you get the right answers. Okay, so I'm going to go over these ones. So the first one I would do here, I would notice that they share SU. So I'm going to mark SU congruent to itself. All right, looking at one of those triangles, I have 3 sides marked as congruent, so I've got side, side, side. All right, next example here. All right, I'm noticing that my vertical angles, all right, are here. I'm going to mark them as congruent. And then in one of my triangles, I have an angle, I have a side, and I have another angle, right? So then my shortcut is angle, side, angle. All right, next one. Students see that right angle, and they just love to jump to hypotenuse leg. All right, it's not hypotenuse leg here. So the reason why is we don't have the hypotenuse are congruent, but I'm going to mark my vertical angles there, and I'm going to have angle, side, angle. So again, all right, angle, side, angle. And the reason why is right angles have to be congruent, all right, because they're both 90. And we also have this theorem, the right angle congruency theorem, that says that all right angles have to be congruent. All right, the last one here, all right, I have 2 sets of sides that are marked as congruent. All right, I'm going to now also mark the vertical angles. So looking what I have a side, I have an angle, and a side. All right, that angle is included because it's in between, all right, those 2 sides. So side, angle, side. Okay, so I'm going to pause here, and then I'm going to do 3 more, all right, with just a little bit more information, and then we're going to do one type of overlapping triangle, and then we will be done.